Well. Good morning, Facebook friends and family. Um, I know I said that I was done doing Facebook Lives and that I wasn't going to really be participating anymore. However, something has happened recently that made me decide to come back in just real quick to jump in and say hello and kind of give my little opinion. First, disclaimer: I'm not a Kanye fan. I like maybe two of his songs ever in life, and that's it. I'm not a fan. I think he is irritating, but that's neither here nor there. What I am looking at is from two perspectives in this: a business perspective, which I hope you guys will flow with me on this and you'll chime in and understand where I'm coming from. And then the other side is just a little tiny bit personal that I took a little offense to. Yes, Mr. Marquel Russell, I'm gonna call you out because you made a comment, and as a child of the 70s and 80s, let's just be real, I'm 53 years old. I was born in 1969, and I'm very proud of my past and my present. But you made a comment that Adidas really wasn't relevant to black culture. Now, one of your followers, I guess she jumped on after I made a comment and said, Run DMC, da 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 da, whatever. Okay, here was my point with that. Number one, you never forget who preceded you. You never forget who came before you. That's number one. Number two, again, as a child of the 70s and 80s, you are absolutely wrong because it was black culture, black people that ushered Adidas to the forefront. Now, are they relevant today? Minus Kanye, I would say before him, or excuse me, Ye, whatever he want to call himself. Before that, no, they really kind of fell into, an off-brand or whatever you want to call it. No offense to Adidas, but yeah, Adidas was very central in the beginning, in the evolution of hip hop and of black culture back when I was coming up. So, as a matter of fact, Run DMC, who you have to give homage to, they made a damn song about Adidas. So I mean, come on now. You cannot ever say that it was never relevant to black culture because they absolutely were. Now, have they stayed relevant? No. Did Ye make them relevant again? Yes, I'll give you that. I don't like them ugly little shoes. I don't know. Hey, to each his own, to each her own. I personally wouldn't wear them, but there are people that would. Doesn't mean that I won't say that because he was canceled or the contract ended or however that went down, because none of us were in those rooms, that Kanye wasn't relevant to bring in Adidas back to relevancy. So all of that to say, Mr. Marquel and everybody else who is younger than me that wants to act like now is the only time that's relevant, never forget who came before you. Okay? So that's that. I still got mad respect and love for you, Marco. You do your thing, and I ain't mad at you. I just had to correct that. However, now, so let's move on to the business lessons of this. So I always talk to you guys about owning your own stuff, right? And I talked about vertical integration yesterday. I made a post about that. To give you a quick kind of example of that, we look at the company Quick Trip gas station chain. Everybody think it's a gas station or convenience store, whatever. They are vertical integration in every means. They own the bakery that makes the breads. It gives them the breads to put into their stores. They own the dairy processing plants to make the milk, to sell the milk in their stores, and so on and so on. So I'm not gonna get into all the details about that, but what I feel this whole Adidas situation needs to do, hey Nikki, what I feel it needs to do is give people that push to start thinking about how can we have more ownership, because the more you own along the process, first of all, the bigger the profit margins, second, the tighter control of the ownership for you. For that, a lot of us, we think we've made it when we have a business or we have a product that gets on shelves or whatever, but we're heavily reliant on someone else to make our stuff relevant. Maybe I should use the word relevant, but we worry about if we get into a store, what if we didn't need the stores? We worry about how can we get the best deals on manufacturing. What if we did our own manufacturing? We worry about can we get the best raw materials? What if we cultivated our own raw materials? You have to be able to own the pipeline straight from the raw materials straight up to the end result, the end product. Now, Ye has an opportunity here. He has his millions and billions or whatever he has of dollars where he can say, I don't need another endorsement. He has the wherewithal because what I understand, I think he owns the trademark on Yeezys or whatever it is, or even if he came up with a different one altogether, He has the capability. He has land in Wyoming. He has the money to build distribution and manufacturing centers. He can put many people to work by opening up these facilities to create his own stuff, not ever having to rely on anyone else. One thing that always troubled me with him back in the day was how he was ranting and raving about how he wasn't accepted. Today, he doesn't care about being accepted. I don't know what happened between that evolution from then to now, but it's something that you should pay attention to, because yeah, getting in Walmart, Target, Neiman Marcus, or whoever is great. But what happens when they decide we no longer want your product? What happens when they decide they want to do a knockoff product? I'll give you an example. Amazon, don't come for me, Amazon. Amazon has a habit of bringing on people who come to their to sell their products through Amazon, and they have this habit of figuring out what the best sellers are, turning around and replicating it and selling it cheaper, and squeezing out the little guy who had the idea to begin with. All right, that's capitalism. It is what it is, and that's what, happens these days. However, I think people in general get so caught up in having our product or service being somewhere prominent that we forget that we need to have full ownership. I talk a lot about content ownership, and I talk a lot about, I have my own magazine. I don't distribute it through other people. I don't have a publisher. I publish it on my own, my team, you know what I mean? My content with my podcast, yes, I use other platforms. And, if you want to get technical about it, we don't own the Spotify's, Apple's, and all the other stuff. It's up to us to build out our audience. And I know I said before, I don't want an audience, I'm building an ecosystem, but that kind of falls into line with that. We build out our followings and we give them what they want on our own terms, on our own platforms. We have to have ownership. There is never going to be a time, as far if I can help it, where any of my content will be owned or controlled by anyone else. And let's talk about it. That's really what all of this is about for this whole situation with Adidas and Yeezys and Yay and all this other stuff. It's about control, the end control. You look at the record industry. I'm not up on the record industry. Patrice Coakley, you could probably step in and talk about that. They own your stuff. This is why a lot of artists go direct to consumer. And there's a big thing with that, to going direct to consumer. Here's the problem with direct to consumer. It's not always direct to consumer. The only way it's direct to consumer is if you're selling stuff out your trunk. We are long past those days where dudes were selling mixtapes, cassettes, or CDs out the trunk of their car. That's real direct to consumer. These platforms that we have now, Spotify, Apple, all of that, God bless them. And I love them. And I use all of them because my podcast is on all of those. But we don't own those platforms. When Jay-Z came out with Tidal, now I've never used Tidal. I don't have an opinion on Tidal one way or the other. I felt it was a good business move because he wanted to take back ownership. Now, that got a little sticky because then he became management and some artists had some issues with that. But you get what I'm saying. Until we can own the entire process, we are really at the liberty of other people. And we can't ever get from under those bonds until we start thinking about vertical integration. Now, for those of you who make skincare products or body products, so am I saying go out and grow the shea and cultivate it and no, I'm not saying that. It would be nice if you could, but you got to start somewhere. Start with owning the materials. Even if you have a vendor that you get in Africa or wherever that has good quality stuff, be a partner in that, invest in that. So you do have kind of a part of that, My thing is, I need you guys to always think about how can I maximize control of my business, my brand, my product, my service, my likeness, my works, all of that. Because then we will avoid these Adidas Yay situations. Because now he can say what he wants. We all can say what we want. But the problem is people have a right to react. And when they react, the first thing they do is go for the pockets. I'm putting myself in a position, my business is in a position where my pockets ain't relying on anybody. If my customers, my clientele decide to walk, that's a whole different thing. I need to sit there and dig deep and look inside myself and see what the problem is. But if I own the entire chain, if I own the entire process, heck yeah, I'll be invincible. We need to get more focused. And there was a dude, Jay Johnson, the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. It was, I think, 2020 when I first understood the term vertical integration. Until then, I was like, man, don't know, but I don't have time for all of that. I just need the quickest way from A to B and make some money. No, as I grow and evolve, as I get into the different things that I'm getting into, I'm learning more about control and ownership. And I don't want to ever be in a position where someone owns my stuff. Okay? So, in making decisions, I'll jump back into what I was saying about when I first published a book. Nobody wanted to give me a book deal, and I'm glad they didn't, because I learned that process, first of all, on publishing myself, and second, I'm the one who owns all the rights. I had a friend that wrote a book that was published by a traditional publisher, then she self-published. Because of her terms of her contract, whenever she went out to promote, she was not allowed to promote that book with the book that she self-published. And that book was one of her best sellers. Again, ownership. When I decided I wanted to be on radio, I had to go through all these hoops and hoopla, whatever, and nobody wanted to put me on terrestrial radio. That was a good thing, because while I'm not outrageous and all of that, I don't want to be censored. I want to be free to talk about what I want to talk about. So I started my own and did my own production, my own finding my guests, my own recording, my own editing, my own everything. You know, I own my content. Nobody owns that but me. Okay? Now, here's a little bit different with the magazine. Yeah, I can't print. I don't have a magazine print press, but I own all my content. One, because I pay my writers, but number two, because it's my magazine that I publish how I choose, when I want, how I want. I own my publication. No other company can claim ownership to my magazine. Where I'm going to have a struggle is when I start streaming channels, because I have not figured it out yet. And, you know, Kevin Hart was very smart when he decided that he wanted to jump into streaming and start his own streaming platform. I would love to be able to do that. It's not in the foreseeable future right now, but that is a true way to own your stuff. Netflix, Hulu, all of that is giving people an opportunity to own their content. But when it really boils down to it, is they're not fully in control of their content. I tend to be fully in control of all of my content. So you see what I'm saying? And for a lesser, example, my lingerie company. I have manufacturers that I buy product from and I sell in my boutique. I don't own that because I didn't design those. I didn't make them or anything. And at this point, I can honestly say, aside from the wine line, I do not want to have that responsibility with that company. But I understand the power of ownership and vertical integration. So I hope that you guys jumped on here. It was not just to hear me say about Kanye, Adidas, Marquel's comment, or anything like that, but really to get a real business lesson. I don't know how much more to impress it upon you guys that you have to own. Even here on Facebook, where people say they can say what they want on live or whatever, in a heartbeat you can be censored. They can snatch that away from you. Now, am I anti-free speech? No, I'm anti-bullshit. I'm anti-dumb talk. But you have a right to say what you want, and I get that. But we don't own Facebook. We are the product for Facebook. Okay? Which is why with my memberships, my networks, we're not having Facebook groups. We're not doing LinkedIn groups. We have our own platform away from social media because I don't want to be the product. I want to be able to build out the ecosystem. So if you have any questions about vertical integration, if you have any questions about business and just growing and scaling and stuff like that, feel free to drop me a DM or hit me below in the comments, or you can send me an email, info@mogulchix.com. But remember what I said, until you have true ownership from the beginning to end, you're just a piece in the puzzle. You don't own anything. Even if you got a trademark, if you don't have a platform to deliver, you don't own it. So, and I own my trademark, by the way. But that's it. So I'm steadily building my ecosystem so that I don't have to rely on outside factors. So I don't have to rely on anyone pulling the plug or rely on anyone getting angry at the fact that Mogul Chix is for Black and brown women. That's my business. That's my target market. if someone were to decide they want to kick me off of Facebook or whatever, I still have other platforms. Vertical integration. Start owning your shit. Start owning your product from the beginning to the end. Start owning your platforms. Start owning your content. So that's all I had to say. Marquel, I'm sorry I had to call you out, but not really sorry. But hey, Sonia, good points for people to really think about. Yeah, absolutely. And we don't, as business owners, I can guarantee you about maybe 85% of us don't think about that. And that's not gender specific, it's not color specific, race specific, or whatever. We're not thinking about that. We're so happy to look for what's going to simplify our lives and make it easier for us to deliver, that we end up selling a piece of ourselves and selling a piece of our product or services just for that convenience. I like convenience and I will pay for convenience sometimes. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I am planning to make sure that we have as much ownership for my companies as possible. So Sonia, Nikki, hey Nikki, I need to talk to you about my wine line, honey. But you know, you guys really seriously need to think about that. Think about ownership. It's such a bigger, you know, we're in a funny time right now with the economy, with politics, with economics, all of that. It all intersects. And the ones who think outside the box, the ones who think beyond what's just in front of us, are the ones that are going to be successful and prosper. If you can't see past convenience, if you can't see past the surface on a lot of this, there's a shift happening. There's a shift. There's a power shift happening. Now, you can be on the right side of it or the wrong side of it, but either way, there's a shift happening. I want to be on the right side of it. And I don't want to ever be beholden to or obligated to anything, anyone, any platform, any person, anything. So you guys really seriously need to think about ownership and stop relying so heavily on third-party factors, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of that, and start thinking about how you can build your own ecosystem. So anyway, I've gone on long enough. It's been over 17 minutes. So I am so happy that you guys tuned in. And those of you watching the replay, I said what I said. I love that gif. I said what I said. So if you have any comments or you want to dispute what I said, I'm always open to conversation, to dialogue. Hey, Juliana. I'm always open to conversation about it. You know, those of you who are on right now, you're welcome, Sonia. Anybody have any questions? Sonia, do you have questions about vertical integration? Juliana, do you have any questions about vertical integration? I'll be glad to stay maybe another 2 minutes or so to break it down even further. But yeah, especially ladies, we gotta own some stuff. We are in a place where we have the right to own. There was a time we couldn't own anything. Take advantage of that. Exploit the hell out of that you have ownership. And let me say this, I love Oprah. Oprah is one of my role models, my business role models. And I love the fact that she's a billionaire and she has a lot of stuff. But she does not own. That is a partnership. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with partnerships and joint ventures. Let me put that out there too, because I don't want anybody to think I'm saying go solo dolo all the time. That's not what I'm saying. I think that strategic partnerships work, but again, protect yourself. You know, you got IP attorneys out here, you have other attorneys out here. I could drop some names. Tony Moore, she is, it's going to be on my After Chat. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to After Chat, it is a paid podcast, live video podcast, where you get to participate in the conversation. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe. It's $1.99 for the year. But anyway, Tony Moore is a great IP attorney. Nicolsha Anderson, I love her dearly. She is a great IP attorney. You have Radiance Walters Harris. She's another IP attorney. Those are three that I'm giving you off the grip that you can call and find out about your IP rights, okay? And talk to someone local, whoever, as far as contracts. If you're in California, Liku, I can never pronounce her last name, Magusu. She is a contracts attorney in California. Go out and cover yourself, protect yourself. Make sure that you don't leave any opportunity for anyone to pull the rug out from under you. Make sure you are in control and ownership of everything that you do. if you want to do a book, publish a book, it's great. It's a great honor to be there and get published by one of these major publishers. Think twice about it because you really don't own it. And a quick note on that, if you let a publishing company assign an ISBN number to your book, you don't own the content. Always buy your own ISBN numbers. There's so many gems I could drop for you guys, and I don't have time right now because I gotta go, and I'm over 20 minutes. But thank you everybody who commented, who tuned in, who watched, who liked, comment, shared, and all the other stuff. But yeah, let's have more of these conversations, and you can believe that I'm going to be talking more about vertical integration on my after chat. I think I did an episode on Mogul Chix chat. So go ahead in Apple, Spotify, Pandora, all of that, Google, Amazon, Roku, all of those. Go ahead and look at it, and I'll see if I can find the episode where I talked about it a little bit. But I'm gonna dive more deep into it in the after chat because that way we can have open conversation flow. So anyway, I got work to do, and love you all. Thank you, and catch you on the flip side. Check you out soon. Bye bye.